Hi, how y'all doing today? We are on part 12 and it'll be page 5 in our journal today. This is the Who Am I journal and the one that has the lap book with it that we're working on. If you haven't been watching the process and would like to, I'll leave the playlist link down below. Today we will be working with some ultra thick embossing enamel and some cardboard squares. We're going to add our gold foil to our page today. It'll be first time introducing the gold foil. I had pulled it out when I pulled out supplies, and the accent that I wanted for this book was gold. So let's get to it. Page I decided to work on today was the bag page. Just one side of it. I've already glued down a piece of paper that was free printable that had some advertisement on it for malted milk. We are going to use some of our tags that we had dyed with the beet pulp, the beetroot, I keep wanting to call it beet pulp, and make a tag and have a little booklet inside for some journaling. Some of our embellishments on this are going to be these little cardboard squares, and they have been embossed with ultra thick enamel and then stamped into so that they're dimensional. We'll be putting 3 of those on, and here's some of the gold foil that I had mentioned that I wanted to use as an accent in our book. So to start with, I want to make the paper pad. I'm going to use, and I've already ripped out some pieces, some of the copy paper that we dyed with the beetroot and use the stencils so we got some pattern on. These will make nice little pieces of paper to do some journaling on. I want to punch out all the corners because that's what we had done on our tags. So I'll just go around and just give these all a quick little punch here and round them up. There we go. It's one of my favorite tools is this We Are Memory Keepers. We Are Memory Keepers has some really cool tools. This one has a 1/2 inch and a 1/4 inch rounder on it. And it just works really easy. Some of the punches, they're hard for my hands to do, but this one just squeezes really nicely. So we've done that. Now let's take our Distress ink, brushed corduroy, and let's ink up our edges real quick. We probably really wouldn't have to because the dye kind of already is on the edges, but I want to keep everything consistent, and everything else has this. This brushed corduroy really matches well with the beet dyeing. So you want to do that to all of these. Then we're going to lay them together, and I'm going to take them over to the sewing machine and just do some zigzag stitch across the top. Just of the papers that we have here that we're going to use for a notepad. Not the top of the notepad. We're going to be adding a hinge to the top of our notepad. A fabric hinge. I don't know if you can hear that, but I have my chickens outside. They've come down from the barn, and they're out on the deck here beside me, and they're cooing, and I just love, chickens are very relaxing. I love to hear their little sweet noises that they make. And the rooster, he's always out there cock-a-doodle-doodling. He's a pretty cool guy. His name is Ron, the one that gets picked on. His name is Ron. Then there's the other guy. I'm not sure what his name is. That kind of is the dominant one. But I like Ron. It's kind of the underdog. Maybe if we get some more chicks, maybe he'll have a flock of his own. That would be nice for him. Maybe he wouldn't feel so picked on. Okay, so there we have that. We take our papers. The first thing I want to do is do a little collaging on this back piece. And I think I want to add a little bit of dictionary paper. And I want to add a paper on top of this that is smaller so we can still see a little bit of that print around it that we can end up using for journaling on it. Maybe if we go this direction. Yeah, I think so. So we'll take our paint trimmer here and we'll just tear down a piece to the size that we want. That's might still be a little too wide. And let's go down to about here. And I think it is too wide, so we're going to cut a little bit more off that, trim a little more off that. All the way up to there. There we go. That makes me happy. Ink it up and glue it down. This will stick with a glue stick. And scrap paper so I don't get glue all over everywhere. Everything's sticking where we don't want it. There. Now we can use that spot for journaling. Where did our dictionary paper piece go? There we go. That on the bottom. Hopefully they'll get out any air bubbles if we have it, or any gobs of paint, and not paint, glue, smooth them out. And that'll be the back. And then these are going to be our pages. So we'll take that. Okay, and I'm going to go sew that, and I'll be right back. A nice little zigzag stitch across the top of that. And so before I can glue it down, I need to take some of my fabric here and make some hinges. And let's see, that just might be enough. All right, so if we glue that to the back here and to the back here, then when we do our top, we'll glue this down like this and we'll have our hinge to open it up. So I'll use my fabric tack. And I'll do about half of it on the back and half of it on the front. Here we have our hinges for our cover. Okay, so let's take this and glue this in place. And the glue of choice is going to be, well, because we have fabric on it, I'm going to go with the Fabri-Tac. And we're gluing the whole thing down. I think with what we're going to be putting on for embellishment on top is already going to make it heavy enough that we don't need to be adding a side pocket to this. So that can go down like that. And we have our pages that flip up for writing on. And then to design our front, move this out of the way for just a minute. We are going to, we have a little tear in our paper here, so we're going to add some collage elements over top, add a little bit of our gold foil, silver on the back, gold on the front, to this also. Just like so. Okay, I think I'll put that down with some tacky glue because it's shiny. Okay, glue anytime now. There we go. All right. Smooth that out and smoothen out the glue that I can see underneath there. Okay. And then I did not get inked around this piece, so we'll ink around it. I don't believe our ink would have stayed on that really shiny piece of gold paper, so there wasn't any sense in inking that up. Excuse me. We have our different, oops, I didn't get our gold paper over far enough, so that's okay. We'll just slide this over like this, and then we'll work this around to the back, and all is good. All is even better. There we go. And I also want to add a piece of the paper that we have, the weathered textures, to get some of this color in here. And let's see, get that gold peeking out just like that, I think. Put that on there just so it overlaps, just like that. All right, now for our squares, put something underneath that, and maybe a piece of this fabric, because we've used this as the hinges, so we'll incorporate this into our cover too. I'd like to use this piece that has more of the beat dye down on it down here. And these would be quite nice on there, I do believe. And they have gold in them, and I'm going to show you how I did that. I have done a couple ahead of time so that you didn't have to watch the whole process, or it over and over again. And I think that I also want to add some trim to that too. Get my bag open. This is some of that trim when I went out thrifting and found those 6 bags of trim. Yes, I want to add some of these little roses down along the side. So we'll cut off a piece for that. All right. So I can add my fabric with my Fabri-Tac. Doesn't need much. I don't like to glue the whole thing down flat. I like to have things to have a little mobility to them. So if you want to move around a little bit, they can move around a little bit. Some things need to be glued down flat, but this doesn't. There. So to do our squares, I have taken one of the squares. These are what they are before I've done anything to them. They're just some chipboard squares left over from my scrapbooking days. I have a ton of chipboard. And then I have taken it and I have applied 2 coats of gesso to it. And now with that, we're going to take our Versamark ink pad. We're going to take ultra thick embossing enamel, embossing powder. Yes, I have a full container. And then we're also going to take some gold embossing powder. I have a stamp, my script stamp that I want to use to get the design. And we have to have, of course, our heat gun to melt everything. And some tweezers. You don't want to be touching the embossing enamel when it's hot. You'll burn your fingers. You're probably going to watch me go down there and go ahead and peel this off. Hopefully I won't burn my fingers. Okay, so what the first thing you want to do is you want to take your Versamark pad and you really want to ink this up. The edges and the top, get a good coat on there. Any embossing ink will do. Your I'm not positive, I've never used the distress inks, but I'm afraid they probably wouldn't be wet long enough for it to work. Now, after I've inked up my little square, I'm going to take my stamp and I am really going to press that into the ink pad because you need to have enough ink on here so that it will release from this embossing enamel. Otherwise, it could ruin your stamp. So get it really well inked up. I'm going to take my tweezers just to the very tip of this, and I'm going to dip it in to some gold, and then right into my container of embossing enamel. I'm going to melt this. And I'm going to do it again. And as long as you dip it while it's hot, it will, the embossing enamel will stick to it again. You don't have to ink it up each time. I get about 3 layers, maybe 4 layers. I want it to be nice and glassy. If it shows like texture to it, then that's not enough enamel on it for our stamp. And this is where my tweezers have moved. And I'm going to touch the edge of it and move that around. My stamp is all inked up, and I'm going to press it right into that embossing enamel. Then I'm going to let that cool. It has to cool before it will release from here. Otherwise, you're just going to pull apart a sticky mess, and that's going to make a mess of your stamp. So it doesn't take very long for it to cool. And then we can just pull it right off, and we have script textured piece of chipboard with some gold coloring on it. Now, if you have some rub-ons, you can go in there and add some color to it. I want to leave this one just the way it is. Okay, so let me set this all aside before I spill it. And you can see how I've added different amounts of gold in different areas, and how different they are. I can't get my hand turned. So, you see them? Those are our little embossed squares. All right. Now we'll take our lid, our top to our notepad. And I think at this point we're going to add our fabric, our hinges, to it. So we'll take some fabric tack and put it on our hinges. Doesn't take very much. And we'll line the top of this edge right here, along with the edge that we had sewn together on our notepad. And we'll just press our hinges down. Just like that. And then we have a book that opens up. Okay. I want to take my little squares, and I'm going to start with the one on the bottom. It's just going to be square on. It's just going to sit like that. And then the second one I'm going to put in a diamond shape. And then the last one will be, again, be square on, just like that. Before I do that, I think it might be easier if I put my little rosebud trim on next. So I think I'll move them off and put my rosebud trim. And that's going to be with fabric tack. So I need another little row of glue right down along here to hold my little rosebuds on. And I've cut it too long, so we'll just cut this off and save it for a cluster. Now to glue these cardboard squares on, these chipboard squares on, I'm going to use my 3-in-1 glue. I'll put the first one down on, square on, hold it for a minute so it stays. The next one I want to put in a diamond shape. Like this. And then the last one will be square on again. Okay. So that's something a little different to be adding onto your interactive elements in your book, whether it's a notepad or just an envelope or whatever. It would go on anything. And I do believe that's probably enough on there. So we have our gold in our embossing. We have our gold here. Maybe we need to add a piece of paper here so we can journal on that also. So I take this piece and maybe make it a little narrower. And ink up the edges. Oops, I forgot I need to punch my edges too. My corners, so I'm going to have to go back in and re-ink them. And then I'll just use some of my Barely Art glue here and get all around the edges so it doesn't peel up. Ideally, that would have been better to put on before I put my squares on, but we've got it. That gives us a nice little place to journal up there too. So on the back here, we didn't add any of this gold foil. And I think we need a little piece maybe on there. Doesn't have to be much, just a little accent. Just like that. That'll be good. I think I used the tacky glue on this before. Just put it right there. Okay, that looks nice. And does it need anything else? Let's take a look here. Maybe a little piece up here, I think. A little piece of gold up there. Let's see, where do we want to put it here? At the top or at the bottom? I think at the top. I try not to overthink things. A lot of times I can get hung up on overthinking. There. So if you don't have the foil sheets, I don't remember where I got them. These are left over from my scrapbooking, card making days. You can just eat chocolate. Just eat some chocolate and save your gold foil. There. All right, so what if, need some of this on the inside? Maybe on the inside here? I think we do. I think we do. Right along the edge here. Yes, we did. We did need that there. And am I putting it upside down? Well, of course I am. So we'll have to keep that open until that dries because it has glue on it. That would be lovely. Close the book, the notepad, and let it get glued shut. Okay, our glue apparently dried there already. Let's put a little bit more. There we go. They're dried, or I just didn't get any on it. So there. We have it. All right. We'll just lay it over top of it like real quick like. So there we have this page with our gold foil, and then our top we have just like that. Okay guys, I want to thank you for coming by and watching once again. I hope you liked this little tutorial. If you do, then hit like and subscribe and hit that little bell so that you can be sure to get notified of the next part. Remember that I will put the playlist in the information below so that if you've missed some, you can catch up with us. And this is our Who Am I journal that goes with our Lapbook journal combination. So thanks for watching again, and you have a wonderful day, and get busy crafting. Make some ephemera or something for your journal today. We shall see you again soon. Bye now.